So you've probably seen the words Docker and Kubernetes popping up absolutely everywhere, right? In job descriptions, tech articles, you name it. But you're not totally sure what they are or, how they fit together. Well, if that's you, then you are in exactly the right place. By the end of this, you'll have gone from zero to launching your very first container and deployment. Okay, let's get into it.
We're going to start with a classic, and I mean classic developer headache. Then we'll see how Docker comes in and provides the perfect cure. After that, we're getting our hands dirty and deploying our first container. Then we'll zoom out to the big picture with Kubernetes, run a deployment right on your machine, and finally lay out a super clear roadmap for what you should learn next.
All right, first up, let's talk about a problem that every single person who's ever written a line of code has run into. I don't care if you're a first-year student or a senior architect, it's the infamous, it works on my machine problem. And honestly, understanding this is the key to getting why tools like Docker and Kubernetes even need to exist.
I mean, come on, you've been there, right? You spend hours, maybe days, getting your app running perfectly. It's flawless. You send it over to a teammate, and boom, it just completely crashes. And you know what the culprit almost always is? Their environment is different from yours. Maybe they have a slightly different OS version, a library is missing, a config file is off, and that chaos, that maddening inconsistency, that is the exact problem Docker was built to destroy.
So how do we solve this mess? How do we bring some order to the chaos? Well, let's meet the solution. This is Docker, and it brings a beautiful, standardized logic to the wild world of software.
At its heart, Docker is all about packaging. Think of it this way. A Docker container bundles up your application with everything it needs to run. The code, the right libraries, the specific settings, the whole shebang. It's all in one neat, portable docs. It basically carries its own perfect environment with it, which means it's going to run the same way no matter where you put it.
And the best analogy for this, honestly, is the real-world shipping container. Before they existed, loading a cargo ship was total chaos. But once that standard metal box was invented, it didn't matter if you were shipping bananas or car parts. Every port, every crane, every truck in the world could handle it. Docker does that exact same thing, but for our code.
Now you might be thinking, hold on, don't we already have virtual machines for this? And that is a great question. The key difference is just wait. A VM is a full computer running inside your computer. It's like renting an entire apartment with its own kitchen and bathroom, even if you only need a desk. A container is way more efficient. It's like renting just the desk in a co-working space. You're sharing the building's main infrastructure, which makes it so much lighter.
And when you look at the actual numbers, the benefits are just huge. I mean, look at this. Startup time? A container starts in seconds. A VM takes minutes. RAM usage? We're talking megabytes versus gigabytes. This incredible efficiency means you can run way more applications on the exact same hardware, making everything faster and a heck of a lot cheaper.
This is it. This is the whole philosophy, the mantra of Docker. You build and package your application one time, and then you can be totally confident that it's going to run exactly the same way on your laptop, on your friend's laptop, in testing, and all the way out to production. Okay, that's enough theory. The absolute best way to really get the power of Docker is to just use it. So let's go. We're going to run our very first container right now. First things first, you'll need to go to docker.com and install Docker Desktop. Once that's all set up and running, pop open your terminal or command line. Let's do a quick test. Type docker run hello-world and hit enter. Docker will automatically grab this tiny test image and run it, and you'll see a little confirmation message on your screen. Easy, right? Now for something more fun. Type this command, docker run -d -p8080:80 nginx. Let's break that down real quick. -d just runs the container in the background. -p8080:80 connects port 8080 on your computer to port 80 inside the container. And nginx is the official web server image we want to run. Now, go open a web browser and navigate to localhost:8080. And there it is, the nginx welcome page. Just like that, in a matter of seconds, you've deployed a live web server. Pretty cool. Okay, so Docker is amazing for running one container. We just proved that. But what happens when you go from one container to, say, 100 or 1,000 in a real production environment? Well, that brings us to the next big piece of the puzzle. See, this is the problem of scale. Managing one container is simple, but managing a whole fleet of them, that can be a total nightmare. What happens if a server dies? How do you automatically scale up when you get a huge traffic spike? How do you update your application without anyone even noticing? This is precisely the job that Kubernetes was born to do. Kubernetes, and you'll almost always hear it shortened to K8s. That's K then 8 letters, then S, is what we call a container orchestrator. Its entire job is to be the brain, the manager, the automated system that handles all that complexity of running apps at a huge scale. So this is a super crucial point. Docker and Kubernetes aren't competitors, they're partners. They work together perfectly. Docker builds and runs the individual containers. You can think of it as the engine. Kubernetes then takes over to manage the entire fleet of those engines, making sure they all work together like a well-oiled machine.
To speak Kubernetes, you just need to know a few key terms. The cluster is the whole system, all your machines working together. Each one of those machines is called a node. Your actual container runs inside something called a pod. Think of it as a little wrapper. To manage those pods, you use a deployment, which is basically a rule you set, like, hey, always keep 3 copies of this pod running for me. And finally, a service gives that group of pods one stable network address so other parts of your system can find them easily. You know the drill by now. The best way to learn is by doing. So we're going to set up and run a real live Kubernetes cluster right here on your own machine. We'll use this fantastic tool called Minikube to do it.
All right, let's get this thing running. First, you'll need to install 2 tools, Minikube itself and kubectl, which is the command line tool you use to talk to your cluster. Once those are installed, open your terminal and just type Minikube start. This might take a minute because it's literally spinning up a complete single-node Kubernetes cluster for you. Next, we'll create a deployment with kubectl. This command tells Kubernetes to run a simple little web server. After that, we need to expose our app to the outside world by creating a service. Finally, type minikube service hello minikube. That command will automatically open up your web browser to the right address, and you'll see your app running live. You just deployed an application on Kubernetes. That's a huge step.
Okay, take a breath. You've just covered an incredible amount of ground. You get the core ideas, you've run your first Docker container, your first Kubernetes deployment. So where do you go from here? What's the path forward? Well, this roadmap gives you a pretty clear picture. Guess what? You just finished step 1, the foundations. You're here. From here, you'd move on to intermediate stuff, like Docker Compose to manage multiple containers more easily, and Helm to package up complex applications. Then you get to the advanced stage, where you're diving into automated deployment pipelines, monitoring your apps, and maybe even going for a professional certification like the CKA. And why does all this matter so much? Because these are, hands down, some of the most in-demand skills in the entire tech industry today. Engineers who really know their way around Docker and Kubernetes can see a significant bump in their salary. So yeah, learning this stuff isn't just for fun. It's a massive boost for your career. And in the end, it all comes back to this one powerful idea. From that first simple container running on your laptop to a complex, globe-spanning, self-healing application running on Kubernetes, the principle is exactly the same. You build it once, and you have the confidence that it will run anywhere. You've already taken the first, and honestly, the most important steps. You've proved to yourself that you can do this. So the only question left is, what amazing thing are you going to build with these new superpowers?